All right, what's up, Demon? So, just going to preface this with how these run. And I did two of them so far. This will be the third episode. People from the community, and it's just a conversation between me and the guest, which today is DemonMonkey. And we'll just be talking. The conversation could go in different directions. We might not just talk about Lunk. And we won't be taking questions because this is a podcast style. If you do have questions, feel free the comments section, and if we get to them, that's how it'll happen. So, Demon Monkey, how did you get involved with crypto in general?
Um, that's a good question. Some of it was from friends that were really getting into the technology, that had gotten in fairly early, made some good money. I was still a little hesitant on it, even after they made money, because, just so many fads come along. And then a few of my friends started sending me different articles about blockchain technology, and I started reading those. Then in the mainstream, like you and I, we've traded, stocks forever. And I started seeing crypto being discussed in some of the financial papers, stock, forums. And I was like, man, maybe I should just research this. And then that's whenever I started just really trying to dive in to understand what the technology was itself and seeing if it truly had a future. And when I started getting into that, that's whenever it opened my eyes to the possibilities of what crypto can be and what it's meant to be in every other business that can be built upon it. Kind of like the .com era situation. So that's kind of where I started getting into the thing, into like crypto. So that was back in probably reading 2014, getting slightly invested 2015-ish, dabbling into it, getting really serious probably 2016, 2017, like really getting serious to where I'm like putting money in for passive income and different things in those natures, and actually being part of certain dApps on different chains, things like that.
So, I'm assuming here, I'm just going to make a guess, but you can correct me, of course. Was Ethereum your first investment?
Yeah, it was one of them. Yeah,
So, Bitcoin or Ethereum?
that was, yeah. Right off the back, well, I did do Bitcoin first, I think. I'm pretty sure I did Bitcoin first. Um, and I actually purchased that Bitcoin from a friend of mine. Uh, he had sent me he had sent me some, and then I just wired him some money for it. Uh, he didn't want any money for it. He just wanted me to get into the game. So he's like, "Here, I'm just going to gift you some." And I think that was like $400 or $500 worth of Bitcoin. And then my actual first purchase was Ethereum that I like legitly purchased myself, not through someone else, was Ethereum.
Yeah,
And
Ethereum was
that
my
was
first too.
no, I did no, I take that back because after he gave me some Bitcoin, I did go on and purchase more of that Ethereum. And then there was a few other tokens I'd have to go back in my wallet that I did purchase, that don't even exist anymore. But while I was purchasing those, I was also buying ETH at the time as well.
Oh, so kind of at the same time. I'm pretty similar.
Yeah.
I think I made transactions with Bitcoin before I actually bought Bitcoin. Where I bought some Bitcoin and bought something with it. I wasn't keeping it. I wasn't holding it. And then the first investment was Ethereum for me, and then somewhere along the lines I got bit by the altcoin and then the meme coin bug. Right? did you did you invest in any meme coins along the way?
Yeah, there was a few of them. See, one of the big ones, that's why I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was something Satoshi something token or something that some people had launched to run alongside of Bitcoin, essentially. Um, it's not the Satoshis now that you can get. It had a little bit of a different name, and there was actually a a game that you could play that they came out with that was a trivia game, and you could. It was a huge thing. They had certain dates, and when you answered, they would do the question. Everybody got to do the answer, and when you answered it correctly, you got a certain amount of those tokens, and then you worked your way up the leaderboard for that day to win the grand prize, which was a certain amount of those tokens, but also cash, which was kind of really cool. And that would be sent to either your Apple Pay or your Google Pay as credits. And I joined that because of a friend as well. And then you could swap those for Bitcoins. So after you got a certain amount, now it was a shit ton that you had to have to be able to swap. But so there was a bunch. There was just a few different ones.
Gotcha. And you're pretty big into it now. So there is one question, Lunatic 69. Why the title Uncaged? So in my mind, I came out with Unchained initially because I don't know, they look like nunchucks in his photo, but I had Unchained, and he says, "Why not Uncaged?" And so I changed it. So Monkey out of the cage. I don't know, DemonMonkey. What were you thinking with that title?
Just that. I
There it
mean,
is.
just I think those are nunchucks, but um, it's just uncaged. Most of the time, monkeys are caged, not chained. So
Right. So unless you're you're dangerous though. That's why I was thinking of Unchained. No. So I guess we can move on to some some other things like what do you think about Terraport? The whole thing that's been going on. Do you have opinions on that? I'm sure you do.
I mean, I have opinions on it, but one thing is I really would like to have more information. You know, it's not something I've been a part of whatsoever. It's not a project that I really believed in. And so I never really dived into it. Um, it's looking like, just from rumor mills going around, that it looks to be an inside job, that the code that allowed the hack was put in back in January. But again, I'd like to see more facts on it. To see who exactly was working on the DApp itself, who the developers were. Are they the ones that were working on that specific section of code? How did that get past other members of TCV? There's a lot of questions that just need to be answered, and it's a tragedy. It sucks. I mean, every time we hear things like this, it's a tragedy. You know what I mean? Um, so many people are losing so much money, and it doesn't look good on Luna Classic as a whole because of the name, right? So they named it Terra, which everybody who sees that name Terra, it goes directly back to Terra Luna, to us, which is now Luna Classic. So that part really sucks, and we might not have seen the real damage yet. of what this is going to do to the chain. Because yes, it was an opposite. It wasn't Luna Classic itself, right? The coin itself, but it's still something that happened on the blockchain, Luna Classic blockchain. So,
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't
uh,
deeply involved in it as well. I kind of did a cursory look at it when it was first being talked about, and then I never really dove in deep. It just wasn't something that I wanted to jump on. It was one of those things where like, oh, I'll wait until it launches and then we'll see what happens, and then maybe I'll use the decks or something. That's kind of what I was waiting on.
do you feel a little guilty that we didn't keep pressure on what we wanted to create back in October?
Oh, you're talking about the audit thing? I'll be honest, that was
Yeah.
very exhausting, man. Um, and the people that were doing a lot of the technical work, Lunkburn Army, a couple of the other guys, Sam, they were putting in a lot of time, and it just it was nice. And I guess that your vision of that was to eventually hand it over to where people in the community could take it over. But I think once you gave the reins to Sam for the Discord, and then I came up with a holacracy idea, and then Sam helped me write that, and then Lunkburn Army helped me write that, and we changed the name, and then it became more focused on that, and it kind of took away from that initial idea, and then people kind of lost interest. Uh, do I feel? I wished I wished it remained to an extent, but it would be nice to have people that are dedicated as far as. And I'm sorry, I'm sitting here talking more than you. Um, it would be nice to have a dedicated system for accountability, at least for layer one. Layer two is a little, gosh, there's always like, look at Binance. How many rug pulls and scams do they have on Binance? They can't catch everyone. That's not going to happen.
But that was our goal, right? Yeah, but if we can mitigate that, and that was like our vision, right?
Yeah.
Was okay, we might not be able to catch every single one, but if we could minimize it to where maybe we can catch 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, even if we were able to catch 3 out of 10, it's better than 10 out of 10 scamming the community. So after these last few days, of people DMing me because of the Terraport thing, it has brought up some of those feelings like that I had back then. And it's like shit again, it's like a mind fuck, right? So it's like, man, had had I stayed on top of that, had I not allowed anything else to lose our focus. So like the Terra Rebels Neblio thing came out and that took our focus away from other things that we were working on. Um, had we just stayed vigilant on that, we might have been able to keep this from happening.
I think it would still have
Um,
happened, but maybe it would have happened to less people, so to speak.
yeah. Well, the thing is we could have looked into the code. So we had individuals that could have like
That's true.
maybe looked into the code and did different things, brought up the auditing multiple times, put a lot of pressure on Terra Civita. Um, I know we could have done those aspects, and so in hindsight, I'm looking back and I'm like, shit, there we kind of stepped away, and the reason I wanted the community. One thing is I didn't want yourself, myself, or just our little group having all the auditing power, right? So there could never be a conflict where people are saying, oh, what if, this project paid you guys to give it a green flag? I wanted the whole community as a whole to start really learning how to research these things on their own and being a part of it as a group. So it was self-policing our blockchain to maybe we could set an example for the rest of crypto and other blockchains to where, look, we created a way to where the entire community is involved in auditing layer twos because they're doing that. Those are the same people that would be investing in those layer twos. So when somebody was trying to scam, it'd almost be impossible to do it on this chain because they're like, man, every community member is also auditing us and we can't fool them. You know, they're going to these places and talking to each other to where the amount of people they would be able to scam would be so little to where it wasn't worth it in a sense. So
Well,
those things, it's kind of been
unfortunately,
in my mind.
Luna Classic community is a huge target for that kind of activity. Um, I mean, when I look at it from a common sense perspective or logical perspective, um, if you're a grifter or scammer or somebody that's trying to make something out of nothing, a nice juicy target is a huge community that's involved in a project that just crashed and was abandoned and was picked up by random people that kind of got together, right? So it makes sense that it would attract actors like that, right? And it's still, I talked to Diamond Hands recently about this specific topic, and he's saying he's hoping that the task force can figure it out. And I said, what if Lunkburn, you know, he knows a lot of developers. What if he hires a company that can do the work, and then he can, make sure they do what they need to do? That provides a level of accountability that he has against the developers that are developing that. Because if they screw something up, they would have to fix it for free because they're a development company's established company. Now, can he do that with the amount of money that was given? Probably not. I don't know, but it seems like the layer one is
Well, yeah, but that would be a TGF thing, not a.
okay. Yeah.
We don't hire a contractor to find us contracts. Like, so the way TGF was set up, that's what it was supposed to be. Like the third party, to where they're looking into the credentials of the contractors that want to do work on chain, make sure that they're able to do the work. When the community does approve for them to do the work and the amount of money that they want for it, that they're keeping track, making sure that the work is being done, all the milestones are being met, and breaking that down. They're supposed to be giving that information to the community as well every month when a payment goes out, stating, okay, this is the work, proof of work that they submitted to us. This is the work that each individual did, and we looked over it. It was, checked, audited, looked good to go. So we allocated the funds for them for that milestone. Simple as that.
So there's a lot of well, you already know this. When you came out with some of the information that you had, there's a lot of people supporting uh, your side, and there's a lot of people not supporting it. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the community that seems seemingly against you, so to speak, or point blank against you. And I I'm going to tell you my personal take on it. I look at it as like, regardless of whether they believe it or not, I don't personally. I'm not a person that can blindly trust anyone. I've been burned so many times in crypto. It comes to a point where if there was a system for accountability, now you say L1 task force is held accountable by TGF and or the COC, correct? So that we have that in place, but who holds TGF accountable? And I'm looking at that and just like, there's a cookie jar, and there's honest people involved, but there's always temptation. Why can't we take the temptation away? What do we need to do to create some type of system that keeps honest people honest and keeps progress moving forward? And in your mind, what would be that solution?
Well, you see, there's a little bit of a dilemma that we run into, right? So it's like, okay, if we find somebody to keep TGF accountable, well, who's going to keep that new group accountable, and who's going to keep that group accountable? So at some point in the mix of all of that, the community is going to have to do their part of keeping a group accountable to where, okay, we have the L1 task force, you have an oversight committee, which shouldn't be there to keep just the L1 task force, have oversight over the L1 task force, but it should be there to have oversight over L1 task force and TGF or in any other organization. If another entity comes forward for L1 development or layer 2, they're there to help their community members, there to help, to be like the first line of defense in auditing and checking things, having oversight over things. And then they're bringing that forward to the community so that the community can then go and do their research as well and have oversight and keeping everybody accountable.
So essentially, the oversight committee needs to be very objective.
Oh yeah, it should be. I mean, you can't have the L1 task force put the oversight committee people in power. Like that doesn't work. They're there to
Fine.
have oversight over you and keep you guys in check.
I saw a
So
problem
how
with that
can
myself, so I'm going to have to agree with you on that.
Same thing with TGF, right? So it doesn't matter how much you trust Edward Kim, right? That's still a huge conflict of interest. He shouldn't be on both sides. And this is where it becomes important. This isn't me attacking Edward or Tobias or Luntburn or any of those individuals. At the end of the day, you shouldn't put your trust into anybody. Don't trust, verify. Don't put trust in me, not Jerry, not Edward, nobody. You need to verify, because the thing is ask yourself, how many family members, best friends, have you trusted with the most important things in your lives, and they ended up betraying you? It happens every day. But people are willing to go and put blind faith and trust into individuals that they only know from Twitter, from this community, from investing into this coin. And I don't understand that, right? So it's like everybody needs to have their spidey sense going at all times and question anything and everything. If there's any kind of doubt, then keep questioning, keep looking into everything. If you don't do that, then yes, these things will keep happening. They will keep happening over and over and over and over again, as they have been on this chain already. And it's like the L1 team. Did they do good work? Yes. You see, people seem to forget. Really, it's like short-term memory loss. Who do you think was hosting spaces and defending the work that the L1 task force did? I was.
I remember.
With all of the good things that they did, I defended them for those things. When they were being attacked by outside forces, who was there to help them defend those people off? I was. So it's not that I have something personally against the L1 task force, right? And I've always told them, or anybody, I've told you this as well, Jerry, as long as you guys are on the right path of not trying to screw people, take advantage of individuals, I will be there fighting alongside you, no matter what, through thick and thin. But if I see that you're doing something wrong, then I'll be on the other side, fighting against you.
Well, I mean, I don't remember what it was, but you did give me some harsh feedback one time. I believe I took it because it was something about that, and I can't remember what the actual topic was, but
well,
I think it was
that's
about,
because sometimes you ask me, you say, hey, not as a friend, tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. And
you tell people what
that's what I do out of respect.
You don't tell people what they want to hear anyway, man. I asked, but
right,
I asked.
but I'm saying you've always told me to do that with you.
Well, yeah.
You said, no matter if we become friends, just always make sure that you treat me the same. And so that's what I've done. That's what I was going to do to begin with, but still,
So, given what's going on right now, I guess there's a proposal up for. There's a couple proposals up. I guess there's a fake one. I don't know if that is gone now or not. I haven't checked. Um, and then there's there's one by Rabbi, whatever his name is, I can't remember. That is a completely different uh, development team. And then there's the updated L1 Task Force one. Now, moving forward, do you think, can it be like, is there still hope with Luna Classic in your mind? As far as, are they going to be able to do it, or are there some, you pointed some critical weaknesses that they should probably address, and I feel, and this is a feeling, guys, this is not logic. I feel like Lunkburn Army is adjusting. Personally, I feel like he's adjusting, and he's trying to do the best he can. But what is your outlook on at just the task force? I mean, because I think TGF is separate, just like you said. Now the oversight committee, does it even exist anymore? So
they're supposed to be separate, but they're not. This is the whole reason I had a big issue with TGF and the L1 task force, because of how intertwined that they are. And that's why I brought up some issues yesterday. The thing is it's easy to sell the community something to say, well, look, we need this and this and this for these reasons, but they're putting those responsibilities on the community. In all reality, how contract work actually works is all of that falls on the contractor. But you see, they're trying to sell it that it's the community's responsibility when it's not. It is not the client's responsibility. You know, and the thing is right now the community's not allowing any bids to come in. You know, no matter what you personally think about, whoever, you still need to at least look at their proposal, look at their bid, right? So there's work that needs to be done on the blockchain. And each different individual or entity should be submitting what they want, their bid to the TGF, right? And then TGF looks over both teams, okay, sees that they're qualified to do what they said they were going to do, looks at the financials that they put forward, saying, okay, we'll do it for this much money, whatever, and then advise the community on those instances and say, hey, we have two bids going forward. One is from this team. They've all been checked out. They can do the work, all this other good shit, and this is their bid. Here's the other one, and they advise on that, right? So now both of those, they put forward a prop, but not a spend prop. The spend prop should be coming from the TGF. That's who the spend prop. So after the prop for it is done, right, the work, right? So if you're a contractor and I'm the customer and I'm trying to hire you to do something, right? Well, you're not going to send that contract to the bank. You're going to send it to me, and it's my responsibility to talk to my bank to have the money to pay these dudes. And right now, in a sense, TGF is acting as that middleman, right? So even if my money's at that bank, the bank is still going to look over the contract, make sure everything's good to go, and then they're going to give me the thumbs up and say, yeah, this looks like a viable option. And that's TGF, and that's what it's supposed to be. But we're not utilizing it for that. And we're allowing a group of contractors to dictate the terms and tell us what our responsibilities are and how they need this money for these reasons. No contractor can do that. In the real world, they would never ever get contracted to do anything because no customer will let them dictate terms like that and put the responsibility back onto the customer. Not a single one. But nobody wants to open their minds to that. That they just people just agree with it. And it's like, dude, listen to what they're saying. Like that is not how contracts work. And you're allowing their bid to go in even though there's a bid for a lower amount and they're not needing all of that extra cash for random people for what ifs. There is no they would never get the bid because any client would look at that and be like, what is all this extra money for? I'm not coming out of pocket for this project an extra 60K so you have what if scenarios. That is part of being a contractor and the risks that contractors take. That is their risk assessment. And then they have to try to find a nice medium middle ground to where they're not underbidding or overbidding, because if they overbid, they're not going to get the job. If they underbid, they might get the job, but now their profit margins are so damn close that if any of those things come up like Lunkburn and Frag were talking about, that's on them. It comes out of their profits. That's why you hear of contractors losing their ass all the time and actually a job costs them money. Why is that? That a job cost them money? For those reasons, because those things fall on the contractors, not on the
Yeah,
client.
I don't think it's that sophisticated yet. I mean, obviously it's not, but
Right, but it doesn't need to be. That's just how things work. But they're allowing individuals to sell them something that doesn't even work that way in the real world. They're claiming it does, and the community is just blindly following it instead of just Googling. You can Google to see the responsibilities of a client, a contractor, and all of that shit, contract law. You can just go and look it
I
up. You can
I
read
would
contracts.
love
There's
to have TGF handle the contracting and the budget propositions, just because it would be less noise. I would love for that to happen. I think it would be better off. There'd be because there'd be budget contracts coming from one entity, and then we vote on it, yes or no, right? That would simplify things in my mind.
Yeah, well, that's how it's supposed to be, but that's not how it's done. So it's also the responsibility. You see, the thing is nobody's heard anything from TGF. You realize that TGF, it even states in 8813, it's their job to look over those props and make sure that there isn't useless shit in those props. So we're not double paying for items. That the items that they put in there is supposed to be within their scope of work realm, so it's all layer one, not layer two things, and things that just have nothing to do with them to begin with. Um, One thing I really worked on, which I worked on, was an on-ramp, off-ramp option for the chain, for Terra Station itself. And they said, oh, we're trying to work on the structure for that so that anybody who wants to utilize it can utilize it. Well, you can't even do that. There's not even a structure needed for it. It's just a simple thing with the station itself. Like, it's not like it needs a structure or some kind of coding, something to be built to be able to have that option, really. It's a simple thing that can be copy and pasted because other wallets do it, and it's a third
I've
party
had
thing,
conversations with
which has nothing to do with like. But people just blindly follow that, right? When he was stating that
I've had
yesterday.
conversations with people that have done it for other projects, and it's not as complex as a lot of people think it is. It's actually something that's pretty simple.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah.
You don't need an L1 team at all. It's up to the third party. The third party does it all, quite literally. Now, if I owned a station, could I help them out, making it a little easier? Sure. But realistically, it is you just copy and paste the code, the little section that other wallets use to do it. It's just an extra tab that you click on, and then it actually sends you out. So all it is almost like a link that you add to Terra Station. That's it.
So
That's basically what it is. It's just a
I had a
link.
question about something different that has been eating at me this whole entire time. I know you're not a part of you're not as involved with them as you were before. You've kind of separated yourself, but when you were there, I was under the impression that there was going to be a brand new GitHub repo done so that pull requests still didn't go through Raider essentially. But I saw a tweet where a pull request during quarter 1 was done by Terra Rebels, and I was like, that confused me. And I was like, well, why did that happen? So weren't they going to? I mean, maybe they didn't have time, or maybe it wasn't in the proposition. I'm not sure, but I thought that was something that they talked about previously, but it didn't happen, or did it happen? Like, I'm confused.
You and me both. See, this is where, and I'm not trying to call Lunkburn a liar here or any of that shit, right? But people are just putting blind face. So he can come up with an end of month report, bi-weekly report or end of quarter report, and everybody reads it and like, okay, cool, and they just believe it. It's like, why don't you go and look at those things? Because people are investigating those things, and there's so many things that aren't true on
So,
those. But nobody wants to listen. As soon as somebody says, hey, this actually didn't get done, they're like, oh, you're just trying to
so was
FUD and you have an
a new
agenda.
GitHub repo a part of it or not? Because I don't.
I mean, go and read Q1. That is exactly what they were wanting
Well,
to
I
do.
can't do it right now.
Well, I'm just saying, you can confirm that for yourself. That was something that they were wanting to do in Q1. The other things of double payment. Whenever I pay you to write me some kind of code, whatever it is, you're supposed to audit and check to make sure that the thing that you wrote is capable of doing what I needed it to do, right? That you're not just selling me a lemon, you know, um, that is actually functional and works. Um, and when we do a contract for that, that's all in the payment. Hey, how much is it to write this and do this? Oh, that's going to be $30,000 because, and then they break it down. Well, I got to allocate, a certain amount of people to write the code. Then we got to test it. We got to run through all the rigors. So it's going to take, 2 months to do this, and it's going to cost $30,000. Okay, sweet. Now, whenever I go to get that, right, and then they say, hey, um, it's going to take another month of testing this, and it's going to be another $10,000. I'm like, what? No, we've already our contract. You're breaking our contract because that was already in the contract. You said it could be done in this amount of time, and now you're saying that you need an extra month for this. Like, that makes no sense to me. Like, and that's a breach of contract. That comes out of your pocket. You don't get more money. You have to do that. Just because you underbid it or whatever, you miscalculated the amount of time that it would take you. The only time that doesn't happen is if in the contract it states otherwise, right? So that these are estimation time frames. It could take a month longer or a month less. Um, and if it takes a month longer, then we'll be billing at this rate. But most 99% of the time, those contracts do not get signed, because then that allows the the company that was hired to milk the job. That's why it's very strict. Contracts are very strict, the amount of money and the timing of each individual thing. Um, it's a cutthroat business world out there, and that's how shit is done. Here, they're pushing all of the risk that they're supposed to have. They're putting all of that risk onto the community, every bit of it.
Yeah. So there was a question that actually pertains to TGF and propositions. in the comments that I want to address that is on point with the conversation. So, why do we decide who works for the team if we pay TGF for the tasks and they hire the people and pay? So, I'm going to answer that, and then Demon, you can elaborate on it, because in my mind, the teams are basically independent, so they can decide whoever works for them on their team. It doesn't even matter at that point, because then the liability goes to TGF because they're the ones that decide, you know, if we hire they get this work, they get this work, and things like that. In my mind, that works that way. So it doesn't even, like, it's a development group, a development team, and we don't vote anyone off the island, so to speak. It's like,
How it works, how it works is I have some financial advisors and accountants for the bank that I utilize, okay? That I have my money in, and that's who I'm going to have whenever payment is needed. That'll be who it's submitted to, and they're going to go out and check the work, right? So in construction, same thing, any kind of development, right? The banks go out and make sure that phase one, everything that was supposed, there's a huge list of everything that was supposed to be done in phase one. And once all of those things are done, and the guy that went out, the guy from the bank will go out and audit that work. If not one single thing is on there, they don't get the check. They have to make sure all 100% of those things have been completed until they get a check for even the next phase. So there's always that middleman. So that's what TGF is there for, right? So whenever I have a bunch of companies, I get to choose who I want, right, to work and do the job. But I submit those bids, okay, to my bank, to the advisors that are professionals working in this thing. They look over each bid. They go to find saying, hey, Mr. Demon Monkey, this one has a bunch of nonsense in it that they're just trying to bill for that makes no damn sense. These guys have some legit bids in. This one's over, the cost, but they're a good company. We've looked into them. They get their shit done. They always get it done on time. So we might be paying them a little bit more now, but it'll pay off in the long run because we're able to profit quicker because they're going to complete it a little bit faster, and they guarantee all of their work. There's never been lawsuits against them, and clients having to go back and sue them for anything. So they look into all of those things for me, and then they advise me, okay, these are the ones I would choose. But it's up to me to choose those, and that's where it comes to the community again. So TGF is advising us, acting as the bank, like advising us which ones to go with. We say, okay, you know what? Yeah, let's go with these guys. And then they say, all right, how much do you want us to go ahead and allocate some funds to them? And they have to ask permission from me to access my accounts. And here again, you're coming to the community to access the blockchain's account. And I say, yeah, here's this much money for the next 3 phases, whatever. Just make sure you're checking the work and show me that they've done the work. So after they go and audit, so they do a first phase, TGF or the bank in this scenario goes and checks the works, audits the work. They're going to give me a breakdown saying, hey, Mr. Demon Monkey, we went ahead and allocated the first phase funds. We went and checked all of these things were completed. It's on to phase 2. And I have an entire breakdown that was emailed to me or submitted to me, sent to me in one way or another for me to look over to make sure that, okay, the middleman that I hired is also doing their damn job. And then it goes on to phase 2, and then they do it all over again. This is how shit works. But this isn't how things are working at all. We have never received anything like that from TGF whatsoever. Not a single damn time. And there's a huge conflict between those two organizations because they're acting like one damn organization, in a sense. You
yeah, I
know,
understand what you're saying. So I know there was a time where you were going to go to TGF and do something, and then something happened with that. I don't know if you looked at how things were going and you didn't like it, or they didn't want you to be a part of it, or what was it? Can you elaborate on that situation?
Yeah, so very first, what ended up happening is Matt and I had warned Ed about some situations that were going on. After we warned him about that, I got offered the position that Luckburn currently holds. I turned it down. I said, I don't want that position.
So,
I don't
like,
want any
Luckburn's
paid
got a position at
positions.
TGF, or are you saying?
No, the one he has with the L1 Task Force. Sorry, maybe I should have said that. So that's how that happened first. Um, talked to Tobias the day
Oh,
after that
you're talking
conversation
about
with Edward.
that.
Hold on,
I understand. Okay,
it's leading up to my
right.
position. So talked to Tobias, told him what was going on, why I advised I didn't want the position, and why I threw Lundburn's name into the mix. He agreed. He says, okay, we just need to have a talk with Lundburn, but we'll probably just have him on. And I went and advised Lundburn on that. So then, after that was there, I had another talk with Tobias, and he said, hey, would you still be willing to do half of that position's work to where you're acting as kind of like a PR for the L1 task force and then are also maybe on like a compliance officer role for TGF? And I had hesitations about that. And I told Tobias, I said, look, if you guys are doing stuff correctly, then I don't want to be on both. You know, I can either be like a PR kind of guy for the L1 task force and separate from TGF, or I can be part of like the compliance of TGF to where I'm keeping TGF in compliance and the L1 task force in compliance. And if anything comes up that is FUD, that is true misinformation about the L1 task force, myself as a compliance officer, I can defend you guys and TGF that everything was being done legitly because I'll have the facts to show what actually happened. And he's like, oh, okay. So he's like, so you're willing to take the compliance officer position for TGF? And I said, yes, as long as it's a non-paid position. It's not really a position on TGF itself, on the team, but it's kind of like the community oversight
A
committee,
specialized,
but
yeah,
just for like the
specialization.
TGF, right?
Yeah.
Just to keep everybody in check, to make sure that TGF was staying somewhat legally compliant of how businesses work. I don't need to be a lawyer to know what is legal and what's not legal. You're not a lawyer, but you know it's illegal to speed, right? You know it's illegal to go murder people. You know it's illegal. You don't need to be a lawyer to know those things, right? Same thing in most companies. So that was my position, in a sense. I started bringing up some bad things that I was seeing inside of the TGF. I reached out to Edward, had a long conversation. I said, hey, you can't be on both of them at the exact same time. You can't be on the multi-sig wallet that is paying the guys that you hired on in this new L1 task force that you created with the nonprofit that you also created. It's a huge conflict. We can't do that. And I told him how it would need to be structured, different ways of things, how to do it. If he needed legal help, I offered that as well, to structure it completely the way it needed to be done legally. And he seemed to agree. Now, nothing happened. And about 2 weeks later, I found out some other things of the money that was sent to the TGF. And I didn't believe it, right? I believed they got the money, but I didn't believe what people were saying, right? Until I went and read Prop 8813, and I was like, okay, this is for grant money. That's how it read to me, and that's how it read to everybody else I've spoken to. So then I go to the TerraGrantsFoundation.org, and I see that the expenditures weren't going to grants whatsoever. So right then I messaged Lundberg, had a phone call with him, asked him if he was aware of it, messaged Ed, told Ed, hey, we need to speak about this immediately, sent him multiple text messages. He replied to some of them days apart, weeks apart, saying, sure, let's set up a meeting, but they just never happened. Multiple missed calls that he had from me. Went and talked to Tobias about it. He said he would reach out to Ed, see what's going on. Like, he didn't agree with it either. He's like, yeah, that's not good whatsoever. He went and read 8813. Even Lundberg Army agreed with me that, yeah, that is bad. But then everything... So then, actually, what ended up happening is Ed was really worried about legal ramifications. And I guess his wife was really worried as well, and he was planning on stepping down. And I received a text from him stating that on February 1st at 2:54. Hey, just want to let you know I am stopping TGF. Only a few people know. That was on February 1st. Well, it wasn't that day, but it was the next day that I actually was able to talk to Tobias because of, and I tried calling Ed. The second he sent that, I tried calling him, and couldn't get a hold of him. And then I messaged Lundberg, asked him about it, and he kind of said, yeah, he's really worried. Messaged Tobias, he's like, yeah, he's really worried. Then I got on a phone call with Tobias, and he says, well, we're kind of discussing it right now. We've talked him into staying with the L1 task force just to do coding, and we're talking about putting you in as the director of TGF. Because he didn't know who Marco was, didn't trust Marco. It was just some random dude that Ed put in.
You're talking about Lundberg, because obviously Ed knows who he is.
No, this was Tobias. I was talking to Tobias. And he's like, so we want to put you in as director. And I said, no. I said, I don't want to be the director of the existing TGF. If I was ever going to take a position like that, this would have to be completely abolished. For one, everything that has been done needs to come forward. And then the TGF would be abolished as it's known right now. And then I would have a law firm come in and set up a new foundation, a grant foundation, that was legally registered, all of that good stuff, but actually professionally set up, and go down that route. But after I stated that again, things changed, and I kept being out of the loop on a lot of those things because I was bringing up stuff that nobody wanted to answer anything about whatsoever. And Tobias on multiple occasions was stating how him and Lundberg are essentially having to do the work for the TGF at the moment. And then when I was getting on to Tobias about Lundberg being too much part of TGF, he's like, yeah, he's just having trouble differentiating between the two right now, and we can't fault him for that. And it's like, yeah, but dude, this is why I told you guys from the very beginning, they're two separate entities. You can't even be discussing TGF shit with any TGF dudes because they are the ones supposed to be keeping you guys in compliance for the community. But it was just it was put out as one thing to the community for visual aesthetics, and then it was being run and done completely different behind closed doors. And it sucks the way that shit was going. And when anybody brings that up, they're a fudder. We're trying to destroy things.
So I'm kind of sensing your frustration um, in your voice a little bit. So are you going to stick around? I mean, I know you still have a bag, but like I think a lot of people have gotten frustrated in the last 8 months. And like, where do you see your future right now, as far as being involved in the community?
I don't know. It keeps going back and forth depending on the day. Whenever Terraport that shit happened, it kind of like dragged me back in because I feel for the people who lost coins and stuff. Um, I mean, it sucks being the bearer, the person that always brings bad news to people. Um, it's nice to be vindicated every time it has happened, but it does get old after a while because it's like, man, I don't know why. Like at first, I set out trying to help, and I thought that by doing that, more and more and more of the community members would open their eyes and do it for themselves. But it hasn't happened. It's like we keep allowing the same mistakes. They go from one group of people that they trusted, and then those group of people screw them over, and they were defending them in the same way they're defending everyone else right now. Same people,
Are
same.
you
They were defending those
are you talking
individuals.
about Terraport now, or
Um,
are you talking about?
Terror rebels,
Oh, gotcha.
back in the day. I'm talking about all of the things, right? Every time there's been an issue that myself and other individuals brought up, we always got pushback. And like, oh, you guys are just drama queens. Oh, you guys are just random people spitting shit on Twitter. You guys are just trying to cause FUD and FUD our bags. You guys are just shorters. And they were defending the rebels and each individual on the damn team. And then, when they got shafted by them, what ended up happening? Now, they were saying, "Oh yeah, I never even believed in them. I never." This It's like, dude, what are you talking about? Go
Oh
back
no,
to
I
your
I remember
tweets.
those days
And then
because
they jump,
people
yeah,
didn't like what
and they
you
jump
said.
onto the next group, right? So that's what they're doing now. It's like just putting blind faith. It's like you didn't learn the first time or the second time stubbing your toe. You just keep going and kicking the same damn rock over and over. And that's sad to fucking see. You know, I've always spoken highly of Ed. I've always anytime there was good being done, I was always the number one person talking about it, and nobody had an issue with that. They were defending me. The same people that are going against myself and other individuals, they were defending me. As long as I'm sticking with the narrative. But as soon as I see something wrong and I bring that up, they're like, oh yeah, DemonMonkey, you've always been here for the community protecting us. Please keep doing it. So then I do it, and then oh dude, you're fudding. It's like, what? You were just telling me to do this if I see anything wrong to let you guys know. So I'm seeing shit wrong, and now I'm fighting. Or it's somebody else, right? It makes no sense to me. And all I'm saying, don't believe me, go and do the research. Go and look it up. All you have to do, it's simple as this. Pull up Terra Station, okay? Go to More, hit Governance, go to the top where it says Voting, click on that, go to Past. Scroll down to prompt number 8813. Okay, simple as that. Click on it and read it. Community Pool Spend Proposal. Promote chain utility via the establishment of the Terra Grants program. With the passing of Proposal 5234, there will be a portion of the seigniorage redirected to the community pool at the end of every epoch, with the influx of new resources. It is critical that the community spend the funding with wisdom, transparency, and efficiency. Historic methods of distribution, trust me, bro, quoted, are insufficient with no accountability, nor is there any established peer review process in the distribution nor oversight in the use of grant funding. Current methods of community pools distribution have not been adequately formulated. Historic methods of community pool spending have suffered from a myriad of problems, including nepotism, centralization, poor transparency, lack of accountability, and lack of direction. A grants program with independent review of the proposed contributions of a project, group, or developer team will attract new talent. Evaluate proposals on merit, not who you know, while providing funding for the delivery of specific milestones. Furthermore, a pay-by-milestone model will provide enough seed capital for the project to get started and, and incentivize the completion of that project or proposal. Website terragrantsfoundation.org. This grants program does not prevent the submission of any community pool distribution on its own. The program aims to be the recommended method to request a grant due to the oversight, peer review, and rationale described above. The grants program does not actually fund anything, just collects proposals, organizes independent reviews, makes recommendations via these reviews, and keeps projects accountable. All community spend proposals still need to go through governance and voting by the community. If this proposal passes, I will be making leave of all other organizations to remain impartial and neutral in the decision-making process. Multisig Wallet is supervised by myself, Marco Jagmont of AllNotes.
Is All Notes still involved? And I just want to reiterate, guys, this is a podcast.
I don't know.
I'm running this like a podcast, so if you request, I'm not bringing you up. You can disagree, but like I'm getting other people on here in these episodes, and they're just allowed to talk. I mean, you don't have to agree with what people are saying. It's just let them talk and listen to it and take what you want out of it. So,
or don't listen to it.
or don't listen to it. Yeah.
But that's all you have to do is read that, right? Well, most of those things haven't been done. I tried to raise my voice on certain keywords that they were putting out and that hasn't been done by the Grants Foundation whatsoever. Nowhere in that prop, which is the contract that the community voted on, does it state that that spend prop, the 1.6 million USTC that they were asking for, anywhere in there does it state that those funds were going to be used for website development, for a manager of any kind. Nowhere does it state that in there. Anywhere. There's not a link linking it to any other place that is breaking down the cost. When you read that, okay, when other individuals read that, it sounds like they were asking for money for grants because that's what they were talking about in there. Grants. So when you read it, the conclusion you jump to is, okay, they're asking for grant money for the Terra Grants Foundation.
After you read that last part, I remember reading that when I voted for the prop myself. Yeah, that wasn't adhered to. That's kind of strange. Is that something you brought up? I'm assuming you did.
Yeah. I told them it needed, before they spend any money, any of that USTC, they need to put out immediately another spend prompt, reword it, so that everything is clearly defined. Now this was after I found out. This was 2 weeks after I had the phone call with Edward to how to structure things. About 2 weeks later, I found out about this, and because at first I thought 8813, I didn't even realize it was a spend prop. I didn't vote on it. I knew it went up, and I thought it was just a prop to see if he should create a TGF or whatever. When I went back and read it, I was like, what the hell? And then I went to terragrantsfoundation.org and I read the expenditures. And now people are like, oh yeah, Ed put out a Medium article and that's justifying their expenditures. It's like, no, it's not, because that's not what you guys voted on.
Yeah, it has to go through the proposals, right? That's
You have to vote. It has to be
That's
clear. Hey,
interesting.
this is what the money is for.
Here's the thing,
So
Demon
everybody's
Monkey.
up in arms about Terra Rebels doing the same shit, but here we are. It's okay when TGF did it because Ed's name's attached to it. And the big difference is that is a registered, legally registered nonprofit that is acting outside the bounds of a nonprofit at that. There are so many things that they're doing wrong. So many things. You really think Binance is going to give them $5 million? Are you guys, and for one, that's something Markle just posted because Ed had put it in the Medium article. If you go back to Spaces, Ed, he just did it just to throw, it's like, yeah, I understand, the likelihood of me winning the lottery is pretty much slim to none, but if we don't buy a ticket, then your chances are zero. That's what he did there. Thousands, I mean, there's thousands of people asking for money there. And he knew that it most likely wouldn't happen. And even the response that they got, that response right there that he got, that's everybody else who's never gotten grant money from Binance but submitted for it, they got that same response. The ones who have got it got a different response. It's just that response right there, that was a nice way saying, yeah, you're not getting it. But that's why it says no reply. Yeah, we received your thing. If we look into it some more and think that we give it to you, we'll reach out. That's a
That
nice way of letting you
I
down.
mean,
That was put in December, guys. And this isn't the first one he put
that's
in.
not saying it can never
This
happen. I think it could. I think that a proper structure has to be there because if another company has grant funds available,
Go and read the guidelines. We don't, so the guidelines that they set out for us to receive those grants, we don't meet any of those guidelines. We only meet a couple of those
but we could
guidelines.
meet all the guidelines,
Now,
correct? I mean, if we really wanted to.
kind of, but there's some of them that we kind of can't because of what happened to the chain itself as well. We are meeting that we are still building and doing those things. Um, but just go and read the guidelines. I mean, you don't need to believe what I'm saying. Just go and read the guidelines
Well,
for
I
the
mean, everything
grants.
that you're saying, everybody can
That's why they
verify.
didn't
So,
accept it. Yeah, they didn't want to accept. So he put in two times. He put in, it was two or three times he put in for it, and it declined every single time. And they said, "Look, you guys aren't even allowed to put in a submittal for this grant. You guys aren't even part of it." After we got the mint shit fixed and the anti-handler fix, um, Ed kept pushing them, saying, "Look, this is what we're submitting to the community, the fix, the remint, and all of that. I think we can do the whitelist and all of this stuff, but would you guys be willing to put us on the grant thing? At least just so we can ask, right?" And they agreed. Okay, yeah, you know what? We'll open it up to you guys. And that's what they did. Back in December, they said, okay, you know what? You guys are allowed to, layer twos, whoever, they're allowed to ask for grants now for Luna Classic. Um, so it was like a quick pro quo kind of thing. Now, they didn't say that they were going to approve any of them. They just said, okay, yeah, you're allowed to do it. And not a single one on Luna Classic has been approved. Not a single one.
has anybody from a
There's
layer
been
two
many.
project ever requested it that you know of?
Yeah, there's been a bunch of them.
Okay, so it's available. They haven't been approving it for whatever reason. Um,
It's a good way to sell your TGF shit, though. It's a good way to sell things. So even like the burn, right? Everybody daps. If they want, oh, we're gonna burn, we're gonna burn. So community members, they know that they can at least get a huge part of the community to support them for whatever they're wanting to do by just saying burn. It works for everybody. Like it's just this huge marketing thing that you can pretty much get the Luna Classic community to bite the hook. It's such a tasty hook to everybody when they see burn, burn, burn. So that's why all of these people are utilizing it. Every scam that's happened on this chain has been utilizing that marketing strategy because it works. That's why Binance is utilizing it. See, Binance, a lot of people seem to forget, oh, Binance is burning, Binance is burning. What did I tell you before they started burning? They said it themselves in a tweet. Oh, we're analyzing the data from other exchanges. And that's what they did. They were analyzing the data from MEXC that would do promotional periods of, okay, we're going to burn Lunk for the next 2 weeks by trading with MEXC. And you would see their volume increase, spike during that time. See, Binance saw that and they're like, dude, look, every time they're doing that, they're making more money than they're burning just by promoting that. If we did the same thing right now, we're making, say $4 million profit with no burn. If we do the same thing Mex was doing and say, hey, we're going to burn this percentage, they have all the numbers. They know how much they would be burning every month with increase the same rate of it. They would know exactly how much they would be burning and what their profit margins would be. And they say, look, we could double our profits. So instead of $4 million a month, we'll be making $8 million a month. Subtract, a million that we're burning. So now we're making 7 million profit instead of 4 by just selling a burn narrative to the community. This is how businesses do business. That's why they spend billions of dollars on marketing, because they make 3 to 4 times that much off of what that marketing costs them.
So I don't know if you guys noticed, Demon's voice kind of skipped there a little bit. My Wi-Fi
I got
still
a
holding
call. No, I
strong.
got a call. It was my bad.
Oh, okay. Because it's raining here. I thought it was me, but okay. That's good to hear. Then
Yeah. No, no,
it's not
you're
my
good.
connection.
But see, those things you can go and research yourself too. See, for whatever reason, the community just forgets about how the events, the course of how things have happened. Every stage. There was other
Well, hey,
exchanges that did it
research takes a lot
first,
of time, Demon.
Right, but those are things that were actively stated for months at a time. Mexi was doing that shit all the time. There was a couple others that were doing it. Coinin was doing it as well. I mean, there was other exchanges doing these things, and then Binance said, "Well, we're going to look into it and see if it's a viable thing." After they got enough data, they did choose to do the burn, but it was because they saw them making more money by doing it. Yeah, it might cost us $1 million, but we're doubling our profits. So who cares?
I mean, I'm assuming because people that are using Binance are not just trading Luna Classic as well. I mean, they're utilizing other trades, so maybe
Well,
it's
yeah, in that portion, we don't even know, right? So they are making. I'm just talking about the amount of money they're making off the Luna Classic from the users using that, and then, like you said, well, what's a sub of that? Well, those people are most likely going to be trading other assets as well. So now they're making profits off of all of those other things. So this has a trickle down effect to where, yeah, I mean, they, instead of doubling their profit with Luna Classic, it could have increased their profit margins of other coins as well, just because of that. Because it does trickle.
Yep, it does make sense. So what I mean, you're kind of on the fence about whether because of the Terraport thing, whether you're gonna stick around. I know you took a little bit of break away from Luna Classic for about a month and a half, 2 months at one point because you were busy at the time, but you were still involved, but you weren't really interacting with the community. And but how about? And I know we kind of covered this, but you don't have a decision, or are you thinking about maybe getting involved in other blockchains? Or I think you already are, but like you're
Well, I
really
always
involved in Luna
have
Classic.
been. I've always been involved with other projects and different things. I stepped away in December um, because we kind of accomplished like a good part of work that we were wanting to do, and it was like, you know what? You see, the thing is you plant the seeds and then you allow it to grow. And I was allowing Terra Rebels and everybody else to destroy themselves. So you step away, And then you know, every day a brick would be falling from that wall, that defensive wall that they had, from them walking on it and knocking off bricks themselves. So that's kind of why I stepped away in a sense then. That way, if I stayed on, a lot of the focus would be on me and it would take the focus away of what they were doing. So people's eyes would be pointed at me, not at them. So by me stepping away, it allowed their focus to go to the Terror Rebels to see them crumbling, defeating themselves. And the same thing a couple other times. Now, one reason I stepped away between January and March for good portions of the time was because of this information. So the thing is I was like, well, I need to get the answers from these guys. I have the facts to prove most of all this, but I need to at least talk to these guys to get their side of it and see if this was done intentionally or if it was just negligence out of stupidity, out of ignorance of some kind. Because I do want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, I know how smart they are, but you know the thing is I know Ed, and this isn't his field, right? Dealing with nonprofits and all this other shit. So I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt of those things. Now, I didn't want to give Marco the benefit of the doubt because his resume should make him responsible for all of these things. He can't, you know, cry negligence of any way. Oh, you know, I had a brain fart. You know, it was just a mistake I made. You know, it's like, well, dude, 20-something years dealing with shit like this, those are rookie mistakes that you just wouldn't make back to back to back and continue allowing them to go on. So I really wanted to talk to those individuals, and that's why I stepped away for a little bit, because I needed to gather more information. And every time I came back to Twitter, even in space, people started asking me questions that I didn't want to answer at the time, right? Because, again, these things can do a lot of harm. Even though they're factual and truthful, and the community does need to know about them, they need to get the full scope of it, and that's what I was trying to do. So even now, I'm still trying to help the community out, like trying to at least open their eyes to some things. You know, it's not that I don't want L1 work to be done or those individuals to be paid. I just want to make sure that we're not getting shafted. Nobody would accept that contract. Nobody would accept that proposal. If that was submitted to any other company asking for work to be done as a bid, it would not. They'd be like, "What is this shit?"
Are you talking about the current one?
Yeah, all of them that have been submitted here lately. There was even flaws with the Q1 one. Now, I advised them what they needed to do differently and legally. You know, I even told Bluntburn yesterday, hey, if this is the kind of control you want, then you need to register the L1 Task Force as an LLC or a DAO, whatever, to where you become the general contractor. And then you could subcontract that work out. But, you know, that also has to be open in the contract, because if I hire a general contractor and I state that I'm hiring his company to do the work and solely his company, he can't subcontract anything out. He has to get permission to do that. Unless I state it doesn't state it in any way in the contract, then he can, and I can't bitch about it. You know, but this is how those things are structured. It's just nobody really knows this in the community, and there's some of us trying to tell them, hey, this is how it's actually done, but they're believing these other dudes that are basically, I don't know if you just lie it, but you're misleading. You're making the community think this is how this shit is done, when in reality it's not whatsoever. So yeah, I am torn. I don't know. Like, my answer, I don't know. Like, some days I say, yeah, I'm done with this shit. Nobody seems to want to learn or listen. to go, and I mean, not just listen to me, but like, just go and learn. Like, go and check if this is how things are done or not. Go and learn. It's easy to find out, like, okay, who's wrong or who's right here, but nobody's willing to do that, and so that irritates me. It's like these people, I'm trying to help them from getting taken advantage of, but they just don't give a shit, and that irritates me, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. They're not wanting my help. And then some things like
Well, I think the
Terraport or something
majority of people
happens,
aren't
and
going to. I think the majority of people probably aren't going to go that far. Um, I would love to see professionals in those positions taking care of the things how they're supposed to be taken care of them, and at least some level of accountability, so that things. So there's a jar,
so
right?
we're not a joke.
Yeah, and not only that, like using the Terraport example, because it just happened a couple days, or like yesterday, or today. Um, there's a cookie jar, and there's people that want to put their hands in the cookie jar, and even honest people could be tempted to put their hands in the cookie jar. But like, if we had a good system that would keep honest people honest, then I could go to sleep at night and not have to worry. I mean, I go to sleep at night anyway. I don't have to worry, but because I'm not stressed out about the amount of money I put into Luna Classic. But some people have that feeling that on a lot of investments, where how good do you feel when you go to sleep at night about it? Does it keep you up? Do you have anxiety about it? Especially when you wake up to news like Terraport, right? That can be very jarring. Now, it didn't. Did it upset me? Yes. Did it did it make me lose sleep? Did it give me anxiety? No. But it's probably giving somebody anxiety, right? So how can, and I know that's layer 2, so there's less control on that side, but at least for the layer 1, and maybe you don't have the answer to this, but I am looking for a solution to try to keep honest people honest, keeping the hand out of the cookie jar type of situation. And some of the things that you're saying today is alarming. I mean, it's definitely
The
verifiable. People
thing
can go
is,
look it up and see if it's true or not. It's not hard to look at because the
until the
proposal fits.
community chooses to do that or put in a system, a structured system, like, which would be very centralized, um, it's never going to happen. But the thing is
I guess that's the
as
problem.
long as the community keeps going down the road they are, we are a joke. We are a joke to the rest of the blockchains. People, they keep, oh, buy us, this. Oh, they're not going to give us any grants because they see scam after scam happening on this. You don't think they're reading those proposals going forward and seeing how gullible the rest of the community is to the idiocy of the shit that's being put out there? Double paying them for work, shit that isn't even supposed to be L1 work that's in there. Like, it's a joke to them. They're like, dude, these people are just going along with whatever. Why would we want a part of that? Just ask yourself, why is it that none of the smart big money has come to get ahead of the game? You see, you can say, oh, it's the parody shit. Well, it's not, because go and reach out to these projects. It's as easy. I've talked to them. Go and do it yourself. Go and reach out to them and ask them why they don't want to develop on Luna Classic. I guarantee you, not a single one of them is going to say parody. Not a single one. Not a single one of them. That's not their issues with this chain. And because they've heard us talking about parody for months now, months, over a half a year, they know that that was something that's going to be worked on. Why is it that you don't see a single company
Hey,
trying to get ahead of the game, ahead of
Demon, let me
everybody
interrupt
else
you for a
coming
second.
in and building?
So, the Terra Grants Foundation grant manager, um, I don't know if that's what's on the profile. Is that their official profile? Because if it is, I can get you guys on a podcast on another day, and you can speak on your side, because everyone wants to hear everyone's perspective. Right? How I run the podcast is nobody else is coming up. It's just one person talking their perspective, and It's not like we're not doing a debate thing, but I'm more than happy to get anybody that from Tara Grant's Foundation on here, and if they want to talk about Luna Classic, I'm open. Is that the right Demon? Is that the profile for Tara Grant's Foundation?
I don't know what you're talking. What are you talking
Someone's
about?
Control F. He's requesting to speak.
Oh, that's Marco. That's not the official Terry Grants
Oh, okay. So yeah,
uh,
Marco, we can
thing.
do
That's his
I
private
can do
one.
a podcast with you, and you can come up here and talk uh, and tell us everything and address things that you want to address and talk about whatever you want to talk about if you're open to that. But yeah, this my podcast isn't really a debate. It's just one person talking their perspective, and then I have multiple people on, so just not at the same time. But we can do you another day. I sent you a DM, and we can have you on. It's not a problem.
Maybe now say we can do you another day.
Well, I can't. Well, I'm going to go to bed after this. So, and ASOBs is tomorrow, so I can't.
It's the wording.
Oh,
Do you?
ASOBs is tomorrow, so I get like, it's starting to line up here for some reason. People like the format and they enjoy it. And then I know Demon, you criticized it because no one can debate anything, but isn't it nice not having to fight sometimes?
Hmm. I don't know. I like debates.
Oh
I
well,
like conversations going. That's why you and I've been talking. I've been trying to ask you questions as well, is because it's nice having not being the only one talking, and I like having other people's points of view if they're legit points of view. Some people say, "Oh, you're just like to overtalk people." Yeah, because they're they're talking about things that they actually know nothing about, and they're just bringing like I like having debates with individuals that know what they're talking about. When it's somebody who, say, knows nothing about politics, right, at all. He's not doesn't know anything about politics, but then he comes in and tries to argue politics with a politician. It's pointless. You're not going to have that dude argue politics with him because it's like, okay, all the shit you're doing is just your perspective on things. There's no factual anything that you're spitting out. So those are debates I like having with individuals. You know, that's why I keep saying, I was like, go and look at business people. Not a lot of business people are coming and commenting on shit I'm saying because they know that I know what I'm talking about because I've done it. I know how these things work. You can't refute the shit I'm saying because, well, you can go and look it up and see that that's exactly how things work.
yeah.
Exactly how they
I tell
work.
you what, the older I get, the more I know I don't know.
You
So
know, well, yeah, but in other aspects of things, but there's certain things that you know a lot about that's within your field. And
I'm
a lot of these things are within my field. Now, the code itself, I don't know. I've said that multiple times. I can't argue any of the coding, any of the shit. All I can do is maybe point you to other developers that are disputing some of the things, right? Because they can. They can tell you, hey, look, this doesn't take this long. Hey, this is ass, right? Um, those things, I can't do that. And that's why you don't hear me speaking on behalf of those things.
yeah. I used to be a jack of all trades, but it got to a point where I think I'm better at some things rather than other things, and it's nice to stay in a lane. But I was talking on another space not long ago, actually, about how do you reconcile the uh, the conflict between devs, people that know the law, lawyers, accountants, financial experts, and business managers, and how do you reconcile the communication between all of those groups to make something work? Because it seems like experts in each of those fields tend to have egos sometimes, right?
Yeah. And that's something, I mean, in every business, right? You run into those issues. Some because some businesses are able to function a lot better just because of the people getting along. You still have the same people in different fields working with each other. Some companies are just better at doing it because of the people they hired, the individuals. A lot of times it's on an individual basis. So, you know, who knows? That's just going through multiple employees sometimes until you hit that perfect team. Same as any basketball team, football team, right? They draft some guys, they get some guys under contract, they think that it's going to work out, it doesn't work out, so they get rid of some other dudes, and then eventually sometimes they just hit the perfect team that just rolls smoothly with each other, just know each other's each person plays so well that it's just like this perfect dream team. Um, and they're all the best of the best, so they each have a position that they play, though, that they're the best at. So sometimes it's just trial and error, you know.
Have you ever thought about, being fed up? I know you're on the fence of sticking with, the community and maybe not. But have you ever thought about putting together a dev team on your own?
Kind of. I'm not a developer. Could I manage a dev team or manage to get one together and then let them flow? Uh, Maybe. That's something to look into. You and I, we've all talked about it sometimes. Uh, but the way that these things go, you see, it's not that I'm going to step away from the community 100%. It's the amount I have invested. I'm going to not have that anymore. And the amount of time that I usually invest into this blockchain, that's not going to be there anymore. Am I still going to come in spaces and talk about things here and there every so often? Yeah, sure. And if it's talking about crypto and as a whole or Lunar Classic in general, like whatever, it doesn't, I'll still be here. It's just the amount of time and effort, the whole educating, I'm not going to do that anymore. People aren't wanting to go and learn for themselves. Well, what's the point of me doing all the research and learning to try to tell people where to go to find the facts, the information for themselves if they're not willing to do it? At some point you have to let go. And that's where I'm at. Is maybe after being scammed 2, 3, 4 more times, maybe they will finally catch on and be like, shit, we need to really, you know, we need to really pay attention to our research and not just blindly trust everybody anymore. Maybe. I don't know. It might not. It might not ever happen. This chain might just die off before it happens. I don't
Well,
know.
I got to be honest
Um,
about the Terraport thing. I I have some personal red flags on that one. Just kind of the way certain things were conducted. I kind of felt like I was going to sit and wait until the Dex was actually built before I was going to participate. And that was just a personal decision that I made, and I did very little research. It was just a gut feeling, and I went with it. So I didn't really do research, but I've been in crypto long enough, and I haven't been in as long as Demon or a lot of you guys, but I've been in long enough to know that that's something I wanted to wait out. And I'm not the only one. I think Ivan had the same feeling that I did about it.
well, the thing is, and this is hard to swallow for most individuals and the majority of people. They think that, oh, this millionaire, this CEO of this company, um, he's just entitled. Like he doesn't know the struggles that we're going through, um, which is usually bullshit. Because on average, those guys do 3 times the amount of work that others do. They just think, oh yeah, this guy, he's a millionaire. He doesn't know the struggles of me having to go scrub toilets and all of those things. It's like that guy, he's working. He has no life. Yeah, you might see him on vacation sometimes, but That's like 1 week out of the year. He doesn't take weekends off. He's working, 15 to 20 hour damn days to be where he's at. And when you're an investor, what separates one investor from the other, so bring up Bull B&B, what separates him from the rest? He's taken the time to learn.
Yeah,
He's taking the hits. He's not going off of what everybody else says. People want easy money,
and
dude.
once you get to a certain
That's one of the
level,
biggest problems.
your time becomes so valuable that even if you go on a date with your wife or your girlfriend, you're losing money. I know that sounds crazy, but it's actually true.
In certain industries, when you're an investor, it can change. Um, but the thing is everything is calculated. But they've gotten themselves to a point because not because they got. Some people could get lucky, right? So were there people in the Sheeb and Doge that got lucky that didn't know anything about trading, just bought some sheep, and then all of a sudden they were worth a couple $100,000 or $1 million. I can guarantee you all those people are broke again. Same people with that win lottery. If you weren't able to manage the $30,000 or $40,000 that you're earning a year, or 50 or 60 or even $100,000, you're not going to be able to manage the millions. And that's why 90%, it's even higher than that, of lottery winners end up worse off than they were before they even won the lottery. Because they just don't know how to manage money. They don't know how to stay afloat. They're very good at mismanaging it. And people, they want they just want to invest in something, not do any of the research in it, and they're just looking for the Hail Marys all the time. Oh man, I hope that this pays off so I can retire. I hope, this is going to make me a millionaire so I can, but they're not willing to put into work
With
really
crypto,
studying how to do things.
what I've found, what I've learned is that it is quicker than the stock market typically, but if you for me, I'm not a day trader. So I think day traders, once they figure that out, they do very well, right? But they have a strategy that they follow. So they, like DemonMonkey said, those guys have to learn something, right? So it's not just, oh, I'm going to wake up next morning, I'm going to start doing that. It's not like that. But for me, long-term strategy is the easiest thing to do, and especially with blue chips. I would say if people put in, I don't know, $500 to $1,000 into Bitcoin today, 15 years from now, you'll probably be happy. Um, I don't know how happy you would be, but I know that it would probably work out in the long run. And I see ASOBs in here, Demon. I have to mention ASOBs. I can't, for some reason, I'm having a hard time sending DMs while I'm in the podcast. And we'll figure that time out. It'll be sometime in the evening USA time. We'll be talking to ASOBs. And I'm sure he's got a lot to say. I can't wait for that one. Demon, you going to show up to that one? You going to listen?
To the what?
My podcast.
To the ASOPs one tomorrow?
Yeah, podcast episode 4, ASOBs, Uncaged.
Yeah, probably. Because I'm sure he's going to be talking about Terraport stuff, so
I'm sure he will, because I mean that.
I'm going to try to. Well, he's been following, he's been tracking. So he's taken more of an initiative than I have in this whole Terraport fiasco thing. So he's really diving in, and he was one of the people that was diving into Terraport and researching it before it even, like, right as when it launched or before it was going to be launching. Um, I wasn't doing any of those things. So it'll be interesting to hear everything he has to say. Now, we've heard quite a bit of it through other AMAs or just different spaces and in tweets, but every day he's gathering more information. So, I mean, I'd like to know more. It's not something I am going to go and physically take my time to go and do, because at the end of the day, I'm not invested in it. It's not something I was ever planning on being invested in. So I'm not planning on wasting my time researching into
Well, I
it.
was waiting for the decks, man. Because that could have brought on so many other opportunities of other projects, and it. I was waiting for that, and maybe I sound like a jerk for not supporting it from the beginning, but I don't know. I just didn't feel comfortable with the pre-sale, and I wanted to wait and see what happened, and that was my take on it. And then I never really dug any deeper, but Aesop's did. So good thing we have somebody in the community that did some hard digging. He's not the only one. There's other ones out there. Maybe we can get Oxears on here as well to talk about it. He might have different perspective on things. Uh, Lunk Dow is coming in about 2 weeks in the podcast. So sorry, I had to shill my podcast demon. So let's move away from Luna Classic a little bit. What other projects are you excited about? You know about what's happening with Ethereum today, or has it already happened? The uh, the upgrade.
The upgrade? Well, it's kind of already
The
happened.
Shanghai thing.
Oh no, that hasn't happened. Well, kind of yet.
I think it's supposed to happen today, and then I don't know. Like, what is it? What is it? Buy the rumor, sell the news. So I think is Ethereum pumping right now?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm looking at right now. Um, I don't really like talking about them in spaces because then people are like, "You're just shilling all this other shit." I'll give some hints of like things that I might buy into, stuff like that. But
I don't
I
have.
don't know. I
Hey,
keep a lot. You know how I am. I keep a lot of those things.
I don't have hashtag Lunk
So hard,
on the title of the space, so we can talk about anything.
right? But I'm just saying personally because people try to come after you personally for those things, and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's like,
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think there's going to be some price action on Ethereum, and Matt probably he's right next to you there on my screen anyway. I'd have to have him on here and talk to him about that stuff because I'm sure he has lots of opinions on Ethereum.
well, the scalability is better. Um, that's something that was bringing up in a space the other day with Hamilton talking about the scalability of Lunk, how it's so great, which, yes, to an extent, but one of the big problems is the scalability of Cosmos as a whole. That's one of the huge issues with Cosmos itself, is its scalability. And they're trying to fix that right now. And if that doesn't get fixed, then we're screwed anyways, because we're competing with Ethereum. We're competing with Matic. So Matic is for Ethereum what Cosmos is for Cosmos. And they're going 1,000 miles an hour with it. And the big thing, not the only thing, but one of the biggest things that Cosmos had going for it was Terra Luna before the DPEG. It was the biggest, most expensive chain with the most volume. And whenever it crashed, the rest of Cosmos took a huge freaking hit. Um, and they still haven't recovered from that. And they already had their own issues. But those issues weren't as big issues because of the success of Terra Luna and the stable token or coin that we had, the algorithmic
I
stable
mean,
coin that we had.
there are some other promising chains on Cosmos, and I think that, gosh, you can't deny that the technology has a place in the future. I think it does. So
Oh, it
the
does.
mark.
Juno's doing some good things, but look at the look at the chains that Juno is competing against and see where they're at. Now, can you always be a little dog that knocks a big dog off its pedestal, of course. That's happened multiple times in business, but it's a very hard thing to do, um, especially in crypto. It's usually a huge failure. If a top 10 coin fails, it's usually because of a huge failure within the network itself that cost. It's not because someone knocked them out of that. Um, in very rare instances, is it that? Um, People have tried. I mean, how many chains have tried to knock Ethereum down from number two? I mean, we heard it for the last 3, 4, 5 years. You've heard. Go back and look at videos. Oh, this one's going to knock out Ethereum. Oh, this one's going to take the place of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Oh, this one's going, and not a single one has. Not a single time.
Well, I mean, I always thought Binance might do better, but there's a, and I kind of knew this a little bit, but I didn't dig deep. Somebody posted in the comments about Binance article about them breaking laws in the U.S. With their central exchange or something like that. I wonder how that's going to affect crypto in general, and specifically how it's going to affect Binance, because that might actually affect us to a small extent. I mean, Luna Classic.
Yeah, it could. Well, it could be a small extent or a big extent. I mean, it's kind of a war going on right now, back and forth. So, and the biggest thing is, are we? Do we have a bright future if we go down certain paths? Yes. Do I see paths that Lunar Classic can go down to where it can be successful? Absolutely. Is it more than one path? Yes. Um, do I see ourselves going down those paths right now? No. Now that could also be my just personal belief, right? But the thing is you can go back and research the paths that others have taken, which is the path we're going down, and they failed. So we're going down paths trying to make a path that failed before successful this time, instead of just going down paths that we know are successful and trying to do something better than the other individuals that went down that path to make ours a little more successful. You know, it's just, why to try to reinvent the wheel itself? Just make it better. You know, just make better
I
wheels.
hear you. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I think, we hit. Do I see us having a bright future? Yes, I can see it. Right. Do I think we're going down that path? No, I don't. Do I think parity could help us tremendously? It could. But the only way parity is going to help us is if we get smart the way we spend the money. If we don't, then we're fucked. That's just plain and simple. Doesn't matter how good a parity we have and all of that good stuff. If we don't have any money left or any money to put towards layer twos, we're screwed. We're screwed. Because we're competing with other chains that are paying layer twos to be on their chain. If we can't match that, even match it, not do better, but just match it, we won't be able to compete.
Well,
Simple as
that's
that.
definitely something to consider. I asked Alex um, in the last podcast a similar question, and he's he was like you as well. He was like he still has. There's still hope, but it's in my mind, it seems the more we screw up, it seems more like a long shot, unfortunately. And I think that's a huge feeling within the whole entire community. And I don't want to speak for the whole community. I've just been noticing it with tweets and things like that. Just the sentiment.
Every time, yep. Every single time. Every time there's something we did wrong, people are looking from the outside in. And they're, even if they were thinking, maybe wanting to just, okay, maybe I'll put in a little bit of money into this. Let me just dabble in it. Every time you have those people that are just kind of on the edge, they see something like this happening and us doing stupid shit, they're like, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm not even going to go and try that.
Well, Demon, we've I think we've almost been talking for about 2 hours. So my phone's getting to the point where it's about dead. I did plug it back in. However, it's going to get to a point where it's overheating and then it's probably going to rug, and I don't want that to happen. So if you have any last minute things you want to talk about or some pearls of wisdom to leave us with, and then I'll end the podcast.
It's not any pearls of wisdom, it's just go and research. Research, it's your money that's in these things. And if you want something to invest in something successful, well, you need to research that thing to know that if it has a viable option of being successful. Um, Try to think about from an outsider's perspective, because you're on the inside right now. Try to think about an outsider's perspective. It's not the drama that keeps these people from investing in things. They don't care about drama. They care about profits. Okay? They want to know if they can come in here, invest, and make money. They don't give a shit about the noise. No real business does. So if they see potential of money here, they don't care about the drama. They care about that potential. Why is it that nobody's seen that potential? Think about that. Why is it that we haven't seen any other companies coming in here? Why haven't you seen of companies right now? They see, oh, Q2, they already did the things to get us to parity. It's just being tested right now. The work's already been done. It's already, so they're about to launch. Why aren't we seeing any companies, dApps, coming over here to try to get ahead of anybody else, to have an upper hand, a step up than any other company, to try to be ahead of the crowd? Why is that? Not a single one.
Yeah, to
Think
me,
about that.
the answer to that would be it doesn't seem attractive for them to do so. Maybe there's more attractive blockchains out there for those companies to build on. Um, I think that's something that the we need to think about so that we can attract just that. But like you said, how can we be competitive with other blockchains that are dishing out massive amounts of money to have layer twos built on them? That's uh, that's something to think about. It's something to ponder.
hmm Look at our competition. What are they doing? And we're not even close to doing that, because they're not just on parity, they're working on getting even further ahead with newer upgrades. But they've spent so much money on layer twos trying to get layer twos on board, because I can guarantee you, just because when the bull run happens, these little meme coins, that shit ain't gonna be happening anymore. That happens here and there, but realistically, that those times you might get lucky with a meme coin that comes up here just out of nostalgia or whatever. But the next bull run, they're like, oh, everybody makes money. No, you see a bunch of them fail, because when the bull run happens, people put their money into things that they think they're going to really make profits off of, that are going to have a use case, that are going to be utilized, and that's where you see that money really come into. You look at any long-term investor in crypto, that's where they put their money in. That's why they say during this time, try to make money off of these little altcoins here and there, and then be building your bag for the blue chips, because those blue chips are what's going to take off in the bull run every single time.
Ah, I cannot deny that.
These other ones, these other ones, it's not that case. And if we don't have utilities on our chain, doesn't matter how good the bull run is. You might double your money or triple your money on Luna, but that's all you're going to get. It's not going to just go to some crazy number without those utilities or use case. There's too many other chains that have all of those things and has the potential of 100x. So those are the ones they're going to, because they have a better chance of doing it.
I do think Luna Classic during a bull run is actually going to make more movement than that, though, just because of the community so huge. I mean, we and like Luna Classic is trending on Twitter in some of the most craziest times where you think it wouldn't be trending.
All the money that was going to come in has came in. The thing was, is we have such a huge part of the community that saw the sheep, missed the sheeps, missed the Doge, and they thought Luna Classic was the next one of those. So all of that hype buying in. But even all of that didn't bring in huge money into it. Yeah, it got us to a few $1 billion market cap, which is a market value. That's just because, again, it was inflated because of a lot of people not knowing trading. They were buying in at those, some people put in these high prices, these whales putting in these high prices because they knew that these new traders who didn't know how to trade would pay those high prices that were completely overvalued. And when
Probably
those
what's
guys
happening with
did, they were
Ethereum right
dumping
now.
their bags. And that's what pushed our thing so high. That's what pushed it so high.
It's probably what's happening with
And these
Ethereum
people
right
are
now
way
too.
underwater now.
And
That's
commented in the comments, said that Ethereum's pumping. So people are,
That's called a whale pump and dump
yep.
right there, baby. That's the exact way it
I
happens.
mean, it's going to
You
dump a
get a
little
bunch
bit.
of inexperienced investors coming in buying things that way overvalued, 5, 6 times over its 10 times as much of what its true value is because they think they don't know. They're like, oh shit, look at it. It's just climbing way high. I'm going to buy in here and it's going to go another 10x. In all reality, it fucking drops down to the bottom. You were just exit liquidity for those whales that were pumping it. We're way overpriced. We were way overpriced. We still are.
So I think that Ethereum and Bitcoin are probably going to have some dumping action on Friday, because typically Fridays is when all the shorts come through, and then everybody that bought or borrowed money to buy it by the news is going to get wrecked. But that's just what I think. We'll see what actually happens. I mean, I'm not an expert or anything.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, Demon, thanks
But
for
yeah,
showing up, man.
we can end it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem, brother. No, I said we can end it if you like.
Yeah,
Um,
thank
it's been about 2 hours.
yeah, thanks for coming on, and have a good rest of your day, and go ahead and make your last comments, and I'll end the space.
Appreciate it, brother. Thanks for having me. Um, People just go and research. That's it. That's all I can tell you. Don't believe me. Don't believe Jerry. Don't believe none of us. Don't trust. Verify. That's it.
Looking forward to the next one. It's going to be tonight with Aesop's. I have to go talk to him right now, so everybody have a good day.
You too, brother. Appreciate it.